Hi everyone, Boyana here from Workpuls. Welcome to another episode of Workpuls Productivity Talks. Today we have Gary Magenta from Root Inc. Here with us. He is the Chief Change Architect, and we will be, as always, discussing some productivity tips. What are they doing in their company to increase productivity? So let's hear a bit from you, Gary, what it is that you guys do, and yeah, start off with that.
Sure. Well, I'm with Root Inc. As you said, I'm the Chief Change Architect, and what we do is really help organizations to be able to engage leaders, managers, and the front line around business strategy and culture. So, when you think about productivity, which I know is a big focus for you, we really have a core belief that in order to help everyone be as productive as they can be, they really need to understand the big picture of why, what, and how of our business, the why, what, and how. So we really do help organizations engage leaders, managers, doers, or frontline employees in the big picture of their business and what we need you to do to contribute.
Okay, I actually had quite a few responses that everything starts out with the leadership and having that clear objective in the end. So it kind of aligns with a lot of tips that we heard so far. So to start with some basic questions, how would you define productivity? What is productivity in your own opinion?
That's such an interesting question, right? There's this sort of maybe foundational definition of, well, how much stuff are we pushing out and how much time and energy did it take us to get it out the door? Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of foundational definition there. But when I think about productivity, it's not just how we define it, it's how we really create it. And so I think I like to look at the correlation between engagement and productivity. As we know, with higher levels of engagement, you have increased productivity. So instead of measuring productivity, what I'm looking for is discretionary effort. Because with discretionary effort, you see higher levels of productivity, and you see it in people, in teams, sometimes in specific plants or stores within a large organization. Why are some groups delivering at a higher level than others? Well, it's because they're giving us their discretionary effort. So how do we get more of that? And that solves the productivity issue and the engagement issue at the same time.
Okay, so I guess you could say that productivity can be measured in some kind of way, right?
There's no question it can be measured. I just don't, I don't always subscribe to the whole ecosystem. It's like, okay, what we hear is we're not getting enough productivity, so let's go and change something. I think what we have to change is the way our people think and feel about our business first. It's always about a systems re-engineering. That's the something, right? So we've got to rejigger our workflow. Yeah, maybe you do. Sure, that's part of it. Or it's redo our technology. Yeah, sure, that's part of it. There's lots of system changes you can make, but I'm not seeing out in the marketplace enough focus on how do we engage our people to deliver their absolute best. And so you get people who they're not disgruntled, but they're not fully engaged, sort of the indifferent crowd that comes in and is sort of punching the clock. Well, somebody who just feels like this is a job and I'm going to punch the clock is not going to give us their discretionary effort and their highest levels of productivity. So there's an additional focus we need, not just on systems and technology, but people first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's the thing. A lot of companies actually go with that first, the systems and the technology. Like maybe if we change this process or that process, it will go faster. Yeah, it might go faster, but it's not changing anything in the long run. So it's definitely people first, after all.
People first, for sure.
Yeah, so when you, I guess you've done a lot of work with companies of different sizes and different industries and everything. Would you say that it can work you can achieve the same results with that thing, with just increasing employee engagement? It means achieving the same results across the board in different organizations?
Yeah. So what I think is the same at any size organization is that we start with purpose. What is the purpose of our business? Why do we get up every day? And I think, there's an expression that I've really come to like these days is that work is the new church. And I believe that to be the case. People are spending a lot of time in there. It's their sense of community. It's where their friends are. We're eating together. We're socializing together. We're solving big problems together. And it has become for many people their community or their church. And what's interesting about communities and religious organizations is that they're all focused on a common thing, a purpose. And so organizations who have a sort of a higher calling, and I don't mean any religious connotation to that, but sort of a higher calling of why we exist and can bring their people into that higher calling, have a higher level of engagement. So organizations of any size, of all sizes, really need to start with why are we here and what is the purpose that we're fulfilling, and engage all employees with that. Provide, and then they need the ability at any size organization to provide their individual workers with a great manager. Because sometimes between the people who have developed the purpose and the people who are responsible at the front line for bringing that purpose to life, something gets lost. And that's usually because the translation coming from the manager is inconsistent across the business. So let's lead with purpose, focused on our people who all have a great manager who can help them translate that purpose into actions and behaviors that they can take as an individual contributor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so sort of like the first thing employers who are looking to increase productivity should actually analyze what they're doing and see what the purpose of their business is, and if that's properly communicated across the board and throughout the whole company.
Yeah, so for sure. What's interesting is many organizations really take painstaking measures to make sure that they have a purpose or a strong mission, and then leave it written on a plaque somewhere in a hallway. It's not doing any good on the plaque. The plaque doesn't work. So they already have them, right? And to your point, if you don't have one, this is a good time, especially now, to pause and say, why are we here? What is the greater mission or purpose of our business? But many organizations have them. It's about getting it from the plaque to the hearts and minds of their people. And the mistake that many companies make, I see larger organizations and smaller organizations alike making this, is when they say we have to change productivity, they immediately, the first thing they do is they move to training. Let's train you how to do something different, on how to do something different. That's the last thing you do. You do it, but it's the last thing you do. You start with, what is our purpose? Why do we exist? What is the current state of our business today? What is the desired future state of our business? Where are we going? What are the gaps that exist? And how can you as an individual contribute to bridging those gaps? Because people want to belong to a winning team. People want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And you have to tell them that story. Here's our purpose, why we exist. Here's where we're at today. Here's where we're going. And here's how you help to span that gap. Now I have a sense of pride and ego in a good way and contribution, and I understand how what I do impacts this business. There's a great sense of satisfaction in understanding my contribution. All of that converts into engagement and discretionary effort. Again, if you want to look at the equation for productivity, it is discretionary effort equals greater productivity. Now you can add to that, discretionary effort, place the right processes, systems, and technology. They're all important, but let's start with discretionary effort. And you get discretionary effort when you include me in that conversation, in that story of the why, what, and how.
Okay, interesting. And I really think that the mission and vision have become, in the past few years, from what I was able to see, sort of like a trend. It's cool that we have this as a company. We're going to have it, as you said, somewhere on a wall. We're going to have it on our website, and we're just going to leave it there. Like nobody, I'm not nobody, but a lot of people don't come back to that and don't incorporate that within their cultures. And it's really weird because you have it there. It's so simple, but yes, it just stays there for some reason. But I'm guessing, sorry, please.
No, well, some people take it for granted. I hear from leaders all the time, oh, they know that. We don't need to talk about that again. They know that. Really? You have a 30% turnover rate and you haven't talked about it in 5 years and they know that? No. Or how do they know that? When was the last time you talked about it? You know, purpose and mission and those sort of things, they're like house rules. You know, when you're in a family environment, which is what a business is, it's just a big family, we talk about those rules over and over again. We talk about the principles or foundations of our family and what it is we believe in on a regular basis. Same has to happen in business.
Okay, yeah.
It's not one and done, right? You can't just say it once, go away for 10 years and think it's all solved.
Yeah, that's true. And when it comes to like sort of when managers who are struggling and employers who are struggling to actually share this mission and vision with the team and try to get the team to get excited about it, what would be your advice to them?
So I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's one of the passion points that I have. The first book I wrote was just on that topic, on managers being able to engage their teams. And here's what I found in the research to that book. Number one is, if you ask managers why they don't take the time to engage their teams in those big picture purpose conversations, they will tell you, I don't have the time. They'll consistently say, I don't have the time. When you take that option away and you say, if time weren't an issue, what is preventing you from engaging your people in big picture, strategy, purpose, those sort of conversations? Their answer is, I don't know how, and I don't know what to say. And so what we find is that managers are oftentimes promoted because they're great at a skill or a task. And so they get promoted to a manager. But that doesn't mean that they have the natural ability to engage a team. So when we started the conversation, I said, you know, organizations really focus on people first and providing them with a great manager. Well, there are some managers that are born with the ability to engage their teams and others who need to learn it. And many organizations are not investing in building the skill and capability of their managers to engage their employees in that type of conversation. So what do I say about that? If you want greater productivity, if you want and need greater employee engagement and capturing discretionary effort, the manager is the linchpin. The manager is the key, because to the frontline worker, they are the company. The manager is the company. And we're not investing in them. Managers need a stronger investment in helping them to really understand that their role is the chief engagement officer and that their primary function is to engage their employees, to capture their hearts and minds, to deliver their discretionary effort, which ultimately increases productivity.
Yeah, it all comes back to the same thing in the end. Yes, I mean, I like that, really. Are there any other tips when it comes? I'm guessing before you realize that this is the best way, the optimal way to increase productivity in the workplace, I'm guessing you've tried different methods, maybe with your own team. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What did you try, and if anything besides this?
Sorry, I've got my phone ringing in the background here. And
okay.
Okay, so sorry for that.
It
So
happens.
I've got the DND button on now. I apologize. So, well, I don't know that it's things that don't necessarily work, but there's a combination of things that I think do work. So as businesses and managers, leaders and managers, we need to be great storytellers. So when you think about really engaging your employees and capturing their heart and mind, nothing does that better than a story. So organizations who are really, really good at this have mastered the art of storytelling. And storytelling, has sort of a systems approach to it. And you have highs and lows in stories, and you have to master the drama of all of that. Once things were great and fantastic, then something happened to change our business. And we shifted and ended in this better place. So we start out as a high, we have a little bit of a dip or a call to action to rally everybody around. We take new activities and we end up on the other side of this. And so managers and leaders really need the skills to tell a great story. Organizations have to tell a story. If you think back to the beginning of time, that is the way we are hardwired as human beings to learn and to get emotionally connected. It's storytelling. It's why television and plays and movies and song and paintings are such a big part of our life, or art, such a big part of our life, because they all tell stories. So in our organization, we recommend putting all that together. If you want to talk about strategy and purpose and operations and productivity, let's tell a story and let's use pictures to do it, so that we can engage people really in an emotional way in the business. If you want to get to change behaviors, you have to start with emotion. If I'm not bought in emotionally, I'm not changing my behaviors. So start by capturing people's emotions or their heart, start with stories, and make sure you're using pictures, because since we were children, we were looking at picture books. When we were cavemen, we were drawing pictures on the walls of the caves. It's a part of who we are to tell stories. Use visualization.
Okay, so those are the biggest two tips, I guess, is storytelling and engaging people through that storytelling and through emotions. Yeah, I mean, that's like, when it comes to questions that I've had, I think that's all. I think we covered, we scratched the surface on the employee engagement. We covered the essentials of it and how it can help managers and organizations become better and improve. So is there anything else you'd like to add to the story?
Nothing to add except people first, people first, people first, people first, people first. People first, process second.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for joining us for the interview. And thank you everybody who's watching Workpuls Productivity Talks. I hope to get to talk to you again soon.
I do too. Thanks for having me today.
Bye.
Bye.